So there's been an awful lot going on in this little grey corner of England that I call home. Things have started to get a bit more difficult for me and my family. But there is something really good that's come out of it. I've taken on a new hobby. Taking on a new hobby isn't a surprise to anyone that knows me. I collect hobbies. I've started gardening, mostly growing vegetable plants and other edible stuff like flowers and fruit. I forgot fruit was a thing. By growing our own food, my family and I will be able to supplement our regular meals with fresh produce when times are a little tough. Other people have started to get involved in growing their own veg and fruit or learning about it. And it's growing into something pretty big, which I'm excited about. I've also started volunteering my time for the community gardeners in town. They're called Garden of Eden, run by Joan Robinson. They're responsible not only for a lot of the beauty in town, but a huge amount of support to the vulnerable people in the community that need it, in a way that I didn't realise until I was one of the vulnerable people in the community that needed help. Somehow during one of these gardening sessions with Penrith Community Gardeners, I found myself being interviewed for BBC Radio Cumbria, which is not what I expected that day to go like. But it was an interesting experience, and rather than rattling on to you now, I will let you listen to the audio of my interview, and it'll give you a good picture of where we've been for the last few months, what we're doing, and also what my plans are going forward, because I'm really hoping that I'm going to be taking you lot with me.
With us earlier, you'll have heard a little about the magnificent horticultural efforts of Penrith Community Gardeners, who, led by Joan Robinson, not only make an award-winning difference to the look of the town, but they also help out some of its residents with donations of fresh produce. Now, busily tending their fantastic plot on Platform 2 of Penrith Railway Station, I will tell you more about this later because it's seriously amazing. If you get off the train at Penrith coming north, coming up from London.
Oh, is that the one with a bike with all the flowers on it?
Yeah, and the sheep, and it's absolutely unbelievable. So we were there on Penrith Railway Station yesterday, doing a bit. Well, I wasn't doing the work; they were. But I encountered Laura, who's one of the younger members of the Community Gardeners and one of the newer recruits. So she's new to the gardening gang, I suppose you would say. But her motivation for giving her time and her effort on a Tuesday morning is incredibly far-reaching.
I'm afraid I don't know what I'm really doing. I need a bit of guidance.
So this is a whole new experience for you?
100%. I actually started coming down because I'm one of the impoverished. I was coming down for the food on the Tuesdays because I'd seen the signs around the allotments saying if you have excess, come and drop it off and bring it down. And me and my family, I've got 2 young boys, have been going through a lot of food poverty recently, and it's been very hard and embarrassing. But coming down, and I've obviously seen the vegetables and wanted to kind of get into it too, and the thought of growing our own stuff to hopefully not be in this position again has been really good. My kids are into it as well, and I've started almost trying to start a community garden on my street as well because of it, trying to encourage a lot of other families who don't necessarily have as much disposable income to really think about the food that they're growing and how they're growing it, and the children teaching them about vegetables and where they come from, where they grow, and trying to get them to try new things. There's a little girl on my street who is obsessed with rosemary. She always comes to my garden and picks out the rosemary from the garden and eats it right from the tree, which is a bit strong for me, but if she enjoys it...
It's not going to do any harm, I don't think.
No, not at all. But it's been amazing for me for helping out with this, and like I say, it's only maybe the 3rd or 4th time I've had a chance to actually garden. But I've come down for the food before, and even when I haven't been able to make it with not being well, sometimes I've come to the house and dropped off a parcel of what's been left because they know that I'm not doing so well.
I just think it's so wonderful that from being a beneficiary, from receiving, your gratitude led you to actually become involved and contribute yourself. It's absolutely brilliant that you're doing that.
Thank you. That's kind of how I see the world. If I get something positive, I want to give something positive back. I'm a social worker by training, so I know how important these sorts of community groups are and how desperate they'd be for people, for need for time, basically. And I have an abundance of time at the moment, so I'm able to give it here, help out where I can, and learn a lot on the way as well, because there's so much I don't know. I'm very new to gardening. I've picked up an allotment as well, and I don't know what I'm going to do with it yet. I'm just kind of absorbing as much of the knowledge as I can.
Oh, I think you're going to have plenty of advisors.
Oh yes, just a bit.
I don't think you'll be short of advice or help for your allotment.
Yes.
What do you enjoy about the physical side of gardening then?
Honestly, the physical side of gardening, it's more for my brain. It switches off. Yes, I'm getting exercise because I'm overweight and I definitely need more exercise in my life. But just kind of being there and you end up focusing just on what you're doing. And I've found it's a fantastic way to switch off from any mental health difficulties that I have, especially the anxiety in the back of the mind all the time. Whereas I can go down to the allotment, I can do this, and I don't have to think about anything apart from I need to replant that plant, I need to dig up this root, I need to clear that bit of soil, and it becomes almost zen-like. And then it's worth it just for that, 100%. It's almost addicting in itself, you know.
And you can feel in yourself the benefits.
100%. I'm leaving the house more often, which is nice, so I feel the benefit of being out in the open air. I've actually lost a bit of weight as well, which I don't weigh myself at home, so that was a surprise to find out. But I do feel more motivated as well to get out, and I'm sleeping a little better as well because of being out and exercising and moving around more. My body is physically more worn out, so wearing out the physical side of it beats the insomnia, usually.
It's got so many benefits. I've come across a lot of those today already. Yeah. I do think as well, you were talking about the food poverty, and one of the things about that is that if you want to buy fresh produce for your family, they are the most expensive commodities to buy, aren't they? So for you to be able to get hold of that for your children and then hopefully grow your own now as well.
Oh, hopefully.
It's going to make such a difference to you.
It really does. And there is such a difference between fresh vegetables and, say, tinned stuff from the food bank. And I know it's great fun. I'm very grateful that it's there, and I've definitely used it a time or two. But in my last period of it being particularly difficult and particularly broke, we were all, me and my children as well, we were all just craving out for fresh food because we don't tend to cook with tins, we don't tend to cook with packet stuff normally. We'd always cook fresh, and then to go to having store cupboard staples instead of fresh produce was really getting at us all, and to be able to come here and help out and get the vegetables here from the excess from the allotments, it's just been a real sort of breakthrough and a real help in getting us back to being healthy again.
And how much do you hope that your children will pick up on this gardening bug that's certainly got under your skin, hasn't it?
I mean, my boys are 14 and 11, so at 14, not very interested in anything usually, but even they have come out to the allotment with me and started to get down and digging and dirty, and as long as I give them a very clear sort of job to do, because again, it is still so new, they can't just dive in. It's like, right here, why don't you sieve this soil, why don't you dig out this patch, and they get into it, and they do seem to enjoy it. For now, I mean, when the weather turns, I'm sure it might change again. But we've now got a little shed on our allotment that we were donated, so we're able to store stuff there, and they quite like having that as their little space as well. So I'm hoping gradually, without pushing them too hard and just having the opportunity there, they will start to really get into it and take ownership of it as well.
It's so wonderful what gardening is doing for you. It's just on every single level, for your family life, on a practical level, on a psychological level, on an emotional level. Who would think that, something is what seems quite simple?
See, it's that realisation as well that I just want to share this. I want to tell everyone. It's why, and again, I'm a social worker by training, and I appreciate social groups, and I appreciate that the street that I live on is one of deprivation slightly, and so I'm getting so much benefit out of this. All I want to do is tell other people. All I want to do is help the other families on my street also experience how great this is, and it won't be for everyone, and that's okay. I wouldn't ever want to force someone to do something that they're not into. But for the ones that it is, and the ones where you can see the little spark in the back of the mind saying, oh, maybe we could do this, or maybe we could grow something, or oh, maybe it's not as hard after all. Especially as I have received some donations from the community for our street, so it's not a case of, oh, I can't afford to buy pots and soil. It's, oh, well, we've got pots and soil here, let's go and start. It's fantastic.
Oh, I just think I'm blown away by all the things that you're doing. What are you actually meant to be doing here, though? Because I've completely distracted you, and you weren't to shoe, actually. I think I was your saviour, really.
A little bit, I have to admit. I was definitely at the point of thinking, I'm not sure exactly. I need very clear directions, because it's all well and good saying, oh, we need to take out these summer flowers and to put on these winter ones. But at this point, my ignorance is quite low. My knowledge is quite low. And I don't necessarily know what are winter flowers, what are summer flowers, especially flowers. I'm very into my vegetables. and I do spend a lot of time researching because I have the free time to, but there's still a lot to learn.
You are on a massive learning curve, aren't you?
Very much so, but it's best way to do it is to dive in and get your hands dirty, literally.
I could see you just taking this somewhere else. I really think it's so got inside you.
Definitely. So I'm a resident of Impact Housing, and I'm working with them to, like I say, build our own community space and hopefully get more going. I see the potential as well, and I've got all this training behind me, I've got this enthusiasm, and I have a good way with people to understand people's own reservations and their own difficulties, to try and help work through people's personal barriers to get them into what they might need. Like I say, this has been such a huge help for my mental health in a way that I never expected, and I just want everyone else to have that opportunity to also have the quiet, also have the zen, also have a small break from your own mind for a little bit, as well as eating well and fresh, which is just amazing for you as well.
I think there are going to be further chapters in your gardening book, and I hope we might catch up with you and see where it's taking you.
More than happy for that we are on Facebook at the moment as CHW Gardeners. That is our little tiny streets community group. We actually have our first committee meeting this Sunday, assuming people come for the free squash and biscuits that I've promised. And hopefully we should be able to get started on. I've already interacted a lot with Impact Housing, who again are our housing people. We held a street party over the summer which was free for all the residents of the area, designed in a way to fit everyone who couldn't necessarily afford to go to a party or anything. There was no fees involved, it was just donate something to the potluck dinner and let's all have a party together. And we did amazing. We got Flip Entertainment donated the Booking Bronco for 3 hours. We had a DJ that donated some time. Impact Housing donated £100 towards our barbecue, and it's kind of motivated everyone on the street a little bit, saying, oh, look what we can do together, look what we can achieve if we try, and we're leading the way a little bit. There's just so much potential. We can do so much, and I'm so excited for it.
You can tell the excitement is palpable, that you've generated this sense of community, which is one of the things that people often bemoan is lacking in today's society, but it's certainly not lacking in your street in Penrith, is it?
No, and we're trying to make it as inclusive for everyone as well, because it is social housing. There is a wide mix of people with different needs, different levels of deprivation, different levels of support needs, and different cultures and languages as well, and we're trying so hard to try and build that together so there aren't these barriers of language and of disabilities and stuff like that. We're trying to bring everyone in, and for those that have maybe been on the sidelines before, we have a lot of Polish families on our street and there's not always that mingling. But for the party that we've done and for the gardening, wherever possible, I speak to the children on the street who are all bilingual and get them to help me translate leaflets and stuff like that so that their families and their parents can join in too.
That was Laura. Remarkable lady, one of Penrith community gardeners, busy on platform 2, as you could probably tell, of Penrith Station yesterday morning, and we'll have much more from those community gardeners in a few gatherings to come. An inspirational lady, Laura, who we were just listening to, one of Penrith's community gardeners, one of their newest recruits. I wasn't expecting any of that because I thought, she was the youngest of the group, and thought it would be nice to talk to, one of the younger element, if you like, and then discovered all that, which was...
It's pretty inspirational.
Really, really, just on every level, really. But that whole community thing that she was talking about is so rare, I think. But I think we maybe not so much up here, because you hear of things happening up here that maybe don't always happen in other places. But it's so important in people's lives.
I think what struck me was her strength in a range of different ways. So the strength to say that when she was in food poverty, you know what, I do need help. I'm going to go and see. I've heard these things, I'm going to go. Whereas, you hear a lot of people in that situation, or so many people having hard times, suffer in silence, to use a word. So he had the strength to do that, and then the strength to say, you know what, I can put something back and I can get a lot more out of it as well.
Yeah.
She was very clear about that. That she felt she'd taken, so she wanted to give something back.
I think that's the only way you can build a proper community, or a sense of community, is giving back.